Obviously, I think the hardest part ahead, which is always the weight cut, right? But you know, uh, everybody goes through it, bro. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So you have a tentative fight July 25th on the revenge tour back at the Melrose Ballroom. How's training coming along for that fight?
training's coming along well, man. We've been getting good sparring. Definitely a good structure during this training camp as always, right? And just excited, man. Excited to be able to, God willing, improve to 5-0 come this July 25th.
So right now it's a to be determined on your opponent. So how does this shift the training, not knowing what type of style? Is it going to be a lefty? Is it going to be a orthodox fighter? How do you play this out?
Right. So, when it comes to styles, I think that sometimes a lot of fighters or trainers that, for that matter, they focus a lot on like studying opponents, right? But remember, you could study and prepare for the way that a guy's gonna fight, but he'll come fighting a completely different way the night of the fight. So I think that's the importance of being well rounded as a fighter and being ready for all types of scenarios. Whether it's a lefty, a switch hitter, a boxer, whatever the case may be, that you have to be ready, man. So nothing changes really. It's just a matter of being prepared, being in shape, and making sure all the boxes are checked off in terms of strategy.
For those that know Marcos Paz and have supported and followed your career, how does it feel to be this busy once again?
Oh man, it's exciting, definitely something that I was looking forward to, given that, I was off from fighting for a while. I didn't stop training, but I was off from fighting due to the business aspect of boxing. But I feel excited, very blessed, and just happy to be able to be as active as I am, but active in New York. I never envisioned having my U.S. debut being in my home state.
Right. So you're back at the Melrose Ballroom. This is going to be your third time back there. Tell us about the atmosphere of being in a place like the Melrose Ballroom.
Oh yeah, it's very electrifying. I would say, a lot of people may not be familiar as much with the arena, but the locals are, right. Local New York City, local Long Island people, and the club shows really is where you see like the barn burners, man, where you see that type of atmosphere that I believe sometimes lacks at the bigger events. So it's a very great energy and just happy to be there, man.
You can't talk about the Melrose Ballroom without speaking about Primetime Promotions and the guys over there in that organization who put on these cards, including July 25, which is stacked with New York talent. Talk to us about being able to sit down across the table from people like Primetime Promotions in these sort of situations.
Yeah, definitely. So Lucas Kaunaki, big shout out to him as well as Eric Rackwall, Ray Campbell, the matchmaker for the show. They're a great team, great people to work with, very professional, and it's just an honor to be able to display my skills on their card, man. I think that just like other promotional companies such as PBC have the Barclays on lock, right? Top Rank has Madison Square Garden on lock. Primetime has the Melrose on lock, and they've been doing a great job keeping the New York talent active. And I believe that the New York boxing scene for a while now, it kind of dimmed down. It kind of dimmed down, and we didn't see too much activity. But they're the promotion that's on the rise, the up and coming promotion, and they're doing a great job in terms of marketing, in terms of opportunities. As you know, the main event, Aftandio Kurtzes, is fighting for a WBO title. So it's a great event. They're doing a great job with the company.
That's great. Marcos, talk to us about family, which is very important in your aspect, in your corner, in your career.
Yes, so family plays a big dynamic in my life. Thankfully I have the support of my father, which is my main trainer, and I have the support of my mother and my siblings as well. Everybody pitches in, whether it's financially, whether it's meal prep, paying for massages, in order for me to be at my optimal best. In order to give me the best shot to be able to progress in my career, man. So I couldn't do it without them, man. Definitely a very strong support system.
Your dad in your corner as a second, Gary Stark Sr., a very rugged New York tough trainer. Talk to us about him and having him as part of your repertoire.
Yeah, Gary man is a blessing. He's a blessing, man, and I think all things have clicked at the right time. The fact that I came back to New York to train here, and the fact that I've known Gary for a lifetime now, but I never had imagined us working together in the dynamic that we're working. And the reason why, out of all trainers, I picked Gary was because I know Gary's a seasoned vet. It's not his first time at the rodeo, but also Gary has something very similar to my father, which he's a old school, no nonsense type of guy. The fighter doesn't tell him what to do. He's the one in charge, and I believe that's what lacks a lot in boxing. And I wouldn't want it any other type of way. A knowledgeable trainer, no nonsense, and that's who you want in your corner when you have to choose a trainer.
Marcos, you wear many hats besides being a boxer. And one I want to talk about is working a corner for another fighter as a cut man. What type of things have you learned from our friend and associate Joseph Kiambo, who's a great corner man and cut man?
Oh yeah, Joe, I think was one of the closest inspirations for me to be able to pursue that title. You would say, I think Joe is as well is a man of many hats, right? As you know, Joe was a Golden Glove champion back in the day, and he stuck to boxing on the business side, whether it was as a scout, cut man, director of operations, and so forth.
He was
And
a
I just
matchmaker himself with the Bell Entertainment.
matchmaker as well. You're correct. And from Joe, I've learned a lot of things, a lot of patience, hand wrapping. Joe is, I would say, and not because he's my cut man or he's my friend, but Joe is a master hand wrapper. And as much as it may seem as a basic skill, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. And Joe has definitely mastered that, and a lot of things, man. A lot of patience I've learned, patience, creativity, when it comes to hand wrapping, working a corner, the types of medicines to use, when to use them, and so forth.
Right. So you have a trifecta in your corner, your dad, Gary Sr., Joseph Quiambo. Talk to us about the importance of having a good, solid corner that you, as a fighter, can trust.
That's super important. And your corner is your first line of defense, man. If you can't trust your corner and there isn't that chemistry, then who can you trust in that ring? Obviously, as the fighter, you have to go out and perform. Your corner can't fight for you, but your corner can see what you can't see in the moment. You have your adrenaline pumping. You're thinking of so much things of hitting and not getting hit. Yet your corner, if they're able to remain calm and they have years of experience, it's not two sets of eyes, it's three sets of eyes, locking in what my dad might not see, Gary sees, and what Gary doesn't see, Joe might see. And I think having such knowledgeable individuals in my corner allows for me to have the best shot at being successful, coupled with my skill set.
At this stage in your career and at the age you're at now, talk to us about making weight and fighting in a weight division. How do you feel when you in this process of preparing for a fight and making or regulating your weight?
Right. So making weight is something that each fighter, I don't care how disciplined you are, everybody feels it. There's not one fighter that says, I love making weight. But definitely, as far as for me, I'm a shorter but stockier type of guy, more compact, but I'm very disciplined all year round. I work with a nutritionist, which I'm gonna take advantage of giving her a shout out. Shout out to the fight nutritionist, Jackie Kaminsky. Works with some of the top UFC fighters. She's actually in Vegas right now at the moment. Top boxers, and she helps me make weight to the point where, like, I can eat the day of weigh-ins. I'll eat before I go weigh in. And that's kind of unheard of in boxing or in any combat sport. We have, I would say, the traditional stigma of, oh man, you have to starve to make weight. Not in this case. Um, Having a professional team behind you goes a long way.
So let's talk about the other hats that you wear. You work corners for fighters, you hand wrap. How does working a corner, if at all, help you in your career as a boxer?
That's a great question, Jose. I think that it allows me to view boxing from a different point of view. You know, it's I would say the same thing with doing mitts. It allows you to view boxing from a different point of view in terms of how the corner might feel when they're telling me something. It could be that I might feel like something's not working, but the corner, you know, since they're able to stay calm, they're able to see it. And being a second or being a head trainer uh allows me to be able to experience that. So when, let's say, I'm in the fight and Gary's telling me, Marcos, don't don't show all your cards in the first round. Take your time. I may feel like I'm not being as active as I should be, but I'm confident enough at that point that the man knows what he's doing, you know? And I've worked the corner now. So now I know how it feels to be in his position.
Marcos, where do you see boxing at today?
I think boxing's evolving in so many different areas, man. Definitely from terms of matchmaking. You know, matchmaking, I believe, is a science. There's a science to it, and matchmaking, I would say, is more it's more delicate nowadays as opposed to how it was, let's say, in the early 2000s or the 80s. Those were different times. Also, from the financial aspect, you know, boxing has always been a business, of course, professional boxing at least. But you know, now there's so many things, or so many factors, I should better say, that come into play, like social media, your following in terms of your fans, and your ability to be able to make money as a boxer definitely increases due to the times that we're living in.
Awesome. Another hat that you wear. You do interviews as well with fighters and boxing personnel for AB Boxing. Talk to us about AB first of all, as the person that he is, great guy, and overall AB Boxing.
Yeah, so Antonio Baez, the CEO of AB Boxing News, a good friend of mine. I work as a correspondent for him for a lot of fights. You know, he'll send me out to the Caribe Royale. He'll send me out to Vegas, Los Angeles, wherever it is that the credentials were accepted to. And, you know, I try to do my best, of course, to deliver good content. I learn from people such as yourself, Jose, which, you know, you've been in the game for, oof, God knows how many years, you know. I was actually going through one of your videos, man, where you were interviewing Damon Dash, Jim Lampley, Roy Jones,
That
Floyd Mayweather.
that New York scene with Lou DiBella and the Broadway boxing and the chin checkers, that was an era that was like, so great.
Yes,
And that's
sir.
the era you're talking about.
And you're one of the pioneers in this, man. But to touch base, yeah, Antonio Baez, great guy, man. I appreciate the opportunity for him, and I think that in boxing, one thing always leads to the other, right? When you do it with passion. So, you know, perhaps the being the correspondent, the media correspondent, led to me transitioning into cut work because I developed a good relationship with fighters and their team. And it's just it's good to be well rounded, I would say, especially if you have a big passion for the sport.
How does being on one side of the mic help you when you're on the other side?
Oh, definitely. I think it helps me because even right now, as we're speaking, I try to think from a interviewer's point of view and how I would formulate my response. Of course, you know, what I'm telling you right now is something that's organic. It's not me trying hard to give you the politically correct answer. But I believe that as a professional fighter or as a public figure, being well spoken, being articulate, and knowing how to respond to media is something that's sometimes overlooked, you know, and it's just as important, man. That's why you're not an amateur athlete, you're a professional athlete.
It's very important. Right now, I'm working in collaborations with Cops and Kids boxing program and starting to get a lot of these young kids in front of the camera, 15, 16, 17 years old, preparing them for, public speaking possibly, or just being able to articulate themselves properly in an interview, which is great.
And I think it's a
Uh,
great job that you're doing that, man, especially with the youth. You know, Pat Russo with his Cops and Kids program, you know, I know you're a product of that program as well, and you know, you have a great relationship with him, so shout out to Pat.
Definitely, definitely. So New York City is loaded if that's the right word, in July here. Let's talk about some of these events because we see you at the events, we see you supporting fighters, we see you supporting different shows. July 11th, we got a historic all women's card headlined by the trilogy of Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. Talk to us about that. Jake Paul, MVP. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be a great night of boxing. I think it's also a historic night of boxing, and I say that because boxing, for the most part, it's always been a predominantly male run sport, and this card in particular, by MVP Promotions, it's an all women's card. Taylor versus Serrano. I believe there's another Puerto Rican athlete on the card. I believe her name's
Soto.
Crystal.
Crystal
So
Rosado's on there. Yeah. Also
right.
Soto's on there. Yeah. Two of Amanda Serrano's fighters.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, Rosado is going to be fighting at the Oculus, which is the World Trade Center,
On
um,
Tuesday.
on Tuesday. Correct. And
Yes,
that's something that's never been done in boxing before. You know. So I definitely think it's a very innovative, my bad, type of card. I think it's great for boxing, great for women to be able to get the exposure that they deserve as well, because they put just as much work in as the men. And I think it's gonna be a great fight. Obviously, Katie has two W's, right, in this type of matchup. But it's gonna be interesting because sometimes, like they say, third luck is the charm.
for sure, for sure. Briefly, what do you think about Jake Paul as a promoter?
I think he's good for boxing, man. I think everybody has their own point of view, and it's respectable. It's like I don't have to think like everybody else think, and everybody doesn't have to think like I think. But I think he's great for boxing. I think he's giving a lot of young athletes opportunities. He's breaking certain paradigms, like I said, like with women, right? Giving them the exposure that perhaps they don't get as much. Um, and we're gonna answer the big elephant in the room. It's that boxing is a sport which is very risky. It's not like you're going there to go hit a baseball and you're not gonna get hit back. You could lose your life in boxing. You can end up with serious neurological problems, and not that any money's worth more than your health, but you want to maximize the benefits you can gain from your career, for the risk that you're taking. And I think that he's doing that from a monetary standpoint.
Thank you for that. So, July 12th, also in New York at the Louis Armstrong Stadium, we have Ring 3 with Berlanga and Shiraz, Stevenson against
Zepeda.
Shakur Stevenson against Cepeda. My bad, right? And h- how do they recover from what happened in Times Square on this card on July 12th?
I think we're gonna have to see how this plays out, because in Times Square, from in my estimation, the whole logistics of how everything was done, it wasn't it wasn't good for boxing. In the sense that people said it was open to the public, but we thought that we were going to be able to see the ring. Everything was like covered up. So a lot of people had like this misconception. We pulled up to Times Square, me being one, you know, and we didn't see anything. And I think that the way that they're going to recover, of course, like I said, they put up a good card, a heavy hitting puncher like Edgar Berlanga, knockout artist, Shiraz, as well. It's a good matchup. William Zepeda, volume puncher versus Shakur Stevenson, which is a technical boxer, which likes to use his distance and likes to move a lot. But he's claimed that he's coming on to put on a fight, so we have to wait and see. And I think just the matchups, right, and placing it in a arena that's open to the public, and we know we're gonna see the ring. I think that's gonna be the way that they can recover the most from Times Square.
What's up? So, Marcos, what else is happening with you? Talk to your fans. Let them know where they can find you on your social media. You also do some personal training. Let them know if they're in your area, how they can reach you for training. Let them know. Go.
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, as you guys know, I'm fighting July 25th at the Melrose Ballroom here in New York City. Always a guaranteed action packed fight. a lot of hollering and screaming from the fans when I come to fight. So tickets are available via the link in my bio on Instagram. My Instagram is MARCOSPAZ with the number one. I have physical tickets in hand as well, and also for anybody that's interested in learning to fight like a pro with the benefits of not getting hit, you know where to find me. Just reach me out on my social media, which is Instagram, and I'm available for training at any given time. Cutman services as well on fightbook.com. I'm registered right there, so you guys know where to reach me.
And
Love.
rapper, don't forget you also rap hands, war tape.
Oh yeah, and shout out to War Tape, man. Actually, now what they're there, Jose. Hold on. They send me the boxes by the load, man. Look, we
Gotta
got them right
support
here.
war tape, gotta shout them out, let them go.
Shout out to War Tape, man. We got a one box right here. We got another one and another one.
Thank you, War Tape, for always supplying Marcos Paz for his work, right?
Yes, sir. And War Tape's the choice of champions. Um, Pacquiao hasn't used it by coincidence. I'm trying to think of any other great fighter. Well, all the big fighters you see, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, Rolando Romero, everybody uses War Tape, man. So make sure to purchase yours. Don't
For
don't
sure.
hesitate. The best, forget the rest.
For sure. And Marcos Paz, man, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you for spending time with me and going through some of these questions. And man, can't wait to see you in the ring, man. Looking forward to it.
Jose, oh, thank you, man, and thank you for always giving myself as well as all the up and coming fighters, man, you the opportunity to be able to express themselves on your podcast, on your interviews, and something that I want to let the public know right now is Jose isn't like I would say like a vast majority of individuals. Everybody likes to gravitate towards the stars. Jose gravitates towards the stars, towards the amateurs, towards the up and coming kids. He's a very well rounded person that cares a lot about the community and the fighters, and I just want to give him his flowers right now.
I appreciate it. And listen, I do what I do because I love to do it. I plug people who others might think is competition. I give everybody an opportunity to shout out who supports them, their sponsors, their people. I mean, I'm here to shine, and I think everybody else can shine along with me who decides to do exactly what I'm doing. I don't have competition. If they do the same thing, they could even plug themselves on my show. Anybody, a fighter, could plug another podcast, another show. It doesn't matter because that's what it's about, spreading love and opportunity. And once again, we thank you for this opportunity, Marcos, and we look forward to seeing you in the ring very soon.
Thank you. Tell us about that boxing, baby.
And thank you.
Sir.
I think you have to hang around.